Welcome to Global Glimpses, your trusted source for breaking headlines, global insights, and sharp analysis from around the world. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. The year 2025 marks a turning point as U.S. trade policies ignite a global economic crisis. The Trump administration's sweeping tariffs on Chinese imports and neighboring countries escalated tensions. This move, seen as economic warfare, shocked global markets and allies. The Dow Jones plummeted, signaling economic turmoil. Retaliation was inevitable, disrupting supply chains and inflating prices. The U.S. underestimated the resolve of its trading partners, who united against perceived economic bullying. From Beijing to Brussels, a coalition formed to counter U.S. actions. China led the charge, setting the stage for a damaging counterstrike. In a dramatic escalation of trade tensions, China swiftly retaliated against the United States by imposing tariffs on $3 billion worth of American goods. This move was not just a simple economic measure, it was a calculated response designed to send a clear message to Washington and the world. The targeted goods range from steel and aluminum to a variety of agricultural products, each chosen for its political and economic significance. By focusing on sectors that are deeply intertwined with American livelihoods, especially those in rural and industrial heartlands, China aimed to hit where it would hurt the most, politically sensitive regions that are crucial in U.S. elections. Agricultural products such as soybeans, pork, and fruit are pillars of U.S. exports to China. The sudden imposition of steep tariffs sent shockwaves through the American farming community, leaving many farmers with unsold crops and a sense of uncertainty about their future. Beijing's strategy was clear: create enough economic pain in key U.S. constituencies to generate domestic political pressure on American lawmakers and the White House, hoping to force a change in trade policy. The impact was immediate and severe. American producers saw contracts canceled overnight, and commodity prices for goods like soybeans and pork plummeted on global markets, eroding profits and threatening the survival of family farms and small businesses. With nowhere to sell their harvests, farmers watched as produce rotted in storage and debts mounted. Many faced the grim reality of bankruptcy as bills piled up and financial lifelines dried out. This tariff strike marked a significant rupture in the long-standing economic relationship between the U.S. and China, shattering the trust that had underpinned decades of trade cooperation. The retaliation signaled the end of a symbiotic era, where both nations benefited from open trade. Now, uncertainty and suspicion replaced collaboration, as each side braced for a prolonged conflict. Beijing made it clear that it was willing to endure economic hardship to defend its national interests, rallying its industries and citizens to weather the storm. The trade war quickly shifted from negotiation to a battle of economic attrition, with both sides digging in for a long and costly standoff. American industries, from manufacturing to agriculture, found themselves caught in the crossfire, facing layoffs, closures, and an uncertain future. The confrontation didn't just affect the U.S. and China. It sent shock waves through global trade networks, forcing companies worldwide to rethink supply chains and reroute shipments. In this new phase, the goal was no longer negotiation, but economic attrition, each side testing the other's resolve, with livelihoods and global stability hanging in the balance. The trade war's impact on American ports was immediate and severe. Major ports experienced a dramatic slowdown as tariffs halted the flow of goods. Container volumes plummeted, leaving cranes idle and workers laid off. The logistics network suffered, affecting trucking companies and longshoremen. Warehouses sat half empty, struggling to cover costs. The ports became a metaphor for America's growing isolation. The fear was that lost traffic might never return. The trade war's economic fallout is starkly visible in cold, hard numbers. The U.S. tourism sector faces a $12.5 billion loss in 2025. GDP growth could fall to 1%, driven by reduced exports and falling consumer confidence. Tariffs fuel inflation, raising living costs for American families. International tourism plummets, with significant declines from key countries. The stock market reflects this dire reality, with significant drops. The aviation and hospitality sectors are particularly hard hit. American airlines and hotel revenues suffer, representing lost jobs and failed businesses. The economic crisis deepens with each passing day. The US-initiated trade conflict has become a global contagion, sending shockwaves through the arteries of international commerce. What began as a series of tariffs and countermeasures has now spiraled into a worldwide disruption, affecting not just the countries directly involved, but also the intricate web of supply chains that connect businesses and consumers across continents. The world is watching as uncertainty spreads, and the rules of engagement are rewritten in real time. Allies and adversaries alike are responding with their own protective measures, erecting tariff walls and tightening border controls. These actions fracture global trade, slowing the movement of goods and raising costs for everyone involved. The once seamless flow of products is now interrupted by bureaucratic hurdles and political posturing, leaving businesses scrambling to adapt. The European Union, once a steadfast partner, now targets iconic American products with retaliatory tariffs. From bourbon to motorcycles, these goods become symbols of a deepening transatlantic rift. The message is clear: economic pain will be shared, and no side will emerge unscathed from this standoff. Canada and Mexico, America's closest neighbors and trading partners, are not standing idly by. They strike back with their own tariffs, transforming North America into an economic conflict zone. The ripple effects are felt in factories, farms, and small businesses on both sides of the border, as uncertainty clouds future investments and jobs hang in the balance. Farther afield, Japan, South Korea, and Brazil weigh their own responses. These nations, vital links in the global supply chain, consider imposing tariffs and trade barriers, further isolating the US and threatening to fragment the international marketplace. The risk of a prolonged standoff grows, as more countries are drawn into the fray. As a result, American goods become not only more expensive, but also politically toxic in many markets. Shelves that once proudly displayed US brands now sit empty, or are filled with alternatives from other countries. Consumers and retailers alike are forced to make difficult choices, and the reputation of American products suffers. The rules-based international trading system, painstakingly built over decades, begins to erode. Institutions like the World Trade Organization struggle to mediate disputes as countries bypass established protocols in favor of unilateral action. The spirit of cooperation that once defined global commerce is replaced by suspicion and self-interest. The WTO, once the cornerstone of global trade governance, is increasingly sidelined. Diplomats leave summits without agreements, and nations retreat behind closed doors to pursue their own interests. The era of multilateralism gives way to a patchwork of competing agendas. In this chaotic environment, innovation is stifled, and alliances are weakened. Research labs go quiet, factories slow production, and world leaders meet in tense, unproductive summits. The uncertainty makes it harder for businesses to invest in the future, and for countries to trust one another. The consequences of the trade war extend far beyond economics. Geopolitical tensions rise as trust erodes, and the world becomes more fragmented. Headlines warn of a new era of rivalry, where cooperation is replaced by confrontation and suspicion. Repairing these fractures will be a long and difficult process. It will require not just new agreements, but a renewed commitment to dialogue, compromise, and the shared benefits of global trade. Only then can the world hope to restore stability and prosperity to the international system. The trade war's true cost is felt by ordinary Americans and small businesses. The tourism and hospitality industries face a crisis, with empty hotel rooms and plummeting revenues. Airlines cut routes, affecting employees and financial stability. Main Street businesses face soaring costs for imported goods. Increased costs squeeze profit margins or are passed to consumers. The trade war acts as a hidden tax on everyone. Business owners hesitate to invest amid uncertainty. Consumers cut back on spending, creating a cycle of declining activity. The economic environment is poisoned, replacing optimism with anxiety. The trade war prompts a reconfiguration of global supply chains away from the US. International buyers seek alternatives, reducing reliance on American suppliers. China turns to Brazil and Argentina for soybeans. European manufacturers retool to work with non-US suppliers. The shift is driven by the need for reliability. New relationships and contracts form, making reversals difficult. US industries face a loss of market share and influence. The perception of the US as a reliable partner is shattered. The long-term cost is a diminished role in the global economy. the world learns to live without American goods. The trade war's economic devastation is mirrored by a diplomatic collapse. The U.S. is increasingly isolated, with traditional negotiation channels broken. Finding common ground is challenging amid polarized environments. Potential resolutions require a departure from confrontation. Suspending tariffs and returning to negotiations is a crucial step. Leveraging international institutions like the WTO could provide a framework for resolution. Domestic political polarization is a significant barrier to resolution. A broader consensus is needed to end the trade war and its economic crisis. The U.S. economy faces a stormy horizon in the aftermath of the trade war. The impact has been felt across various sectors from manufacturing to agriculture, leaving a trail of economic disruption. Businesses are grappling with uncertainty, and consumers are feeling the pinch. The trade war has not only strained international relations, but also created a ripple effect that has affected global supply chains. The damage is structural, requiring a pivot away from protectionism. Economists argue that a shift towards more open trade policies could help mitigate some of the adverse effects. However, this transition is easier said than done. It involves rethinking long-standing trade agreements and forging new alliances. The road to recovery is not just about lifting tariffs, but also about rebuilding trust with international partners. Lifting tariffs is essential, but recovery will be long and arduous. The process involves multiple stakeholders, including government officials, business leaders, and international partners. Each step towards recovery requires careful planning and execution. The economic policies implemented today will have long-term implications for future growth and stability. Targeted support is needed for affected industries and workers. Small businesses in particular are struggling to stay afloat. They need financial assistance and policy support to navigate these challenging times. Community job fairs and retraining programs can help displaced workers find new opportunities. The focus should be on creating a resilient workforce that can adapt to changing economic conditions. Diplomatic and commercial outreach is crucial to rebuild global standing. Engaging in meaningful dialogue with international partners can pave the way for new trade agreements. These agreements should aim to create a more balanced and fair trading environment. Diplomatic efforts should also focus on resolving existing conflicts and preventing future trade disputes. American businesses must re-engage with global counterparts. Participation in international trade, shows and business forums can open up new avenues for collaboration. Building strong relationships with global partners is essential for long-term success. Businesses should also focus on innovation and competitiveness to stay ahead in the global market. The path forward lies in strengthening partnerships, not building walls. Collaboration and mutual respect are key to overcoming economic challenges. By working together, countries can create a more prosperous and stable global economy. The focus should be on breaking down barriers and fostering a spirit of cooperation. The crisis serves as a reminder of the interconnected global economy. No country can thrive in isolation. The health of the global economy depends on the collective efforts of all nations. This interconnectedness means that economic policies in one country can have far-reaching effects on others. It underscores the importance of coordinated efforts to address global economic challenges. The journey back to stability will be challenging, with lingering scars. The economic downturn has left deep wounds that will take time to heal. Businesses and workers alike will need to adapt to a new normal. Patience and perseverance will be essential as the economy slowly recovers. The lessons learned during this crisis can help build a more resilient economic future. A more enlightened consensus on America's global role must emerge. The country needs to redefine its position in the global economy. This involves not only economic policies, but also a broader vision of international cooperation and leadership. By embracing a more inclusive and forward-thinking approach, America can play a pivotal role in shaping a better future for all.